Hello my loves, welcome back. Today I am updating my eyeshadow palette collection testing series thing. Today we are going to go over my thoughts on my Nars palettes and a cheeky little rogue Lethal Cosmetics palette which I missed earlier in the project. So I think we'll just start with this one. It is a 6-pan palette. I can't remember if this was one where like it was sort of released like this as a palette or if it was individual shades that were in a collection. I can't remember. Anyway, the brand sent it to me. Very appreciative. I really like the shades. I like the formula as well. My favorite shades are the 4 lightest ones, so 3 on top, this one here. These darker shades are very pretty. I can't use them on their own though. They're just a bit too dark for me. I'll put a picture up to show you guys the shades from each palette that I used, but for this one I can tell you now it was just the 4 lighter shades. So these are all multi-chromes, really pretty. I love these. They're like, I had a lot of fun with them. They're really gorgeous. The darker shades, I didn't use them, but I do feel like there could be some fun had trying to like use them as a liner, maybe. Whether I will ever get around to that will remain to be seen, but I am going to hold on to this palette. I really enjoy the lighter shades. It's not one that I would really pull out on its own simply because, you know, there's no mattes in there. I can't create like a full cohesive look on its own. And I like to pair mattes with shimmers and stuff like that. So it's just my preference. But it is one that I could pull out just for shits and giggles to add a little bit of like fun to a look. Also, it's quite small. It's, you know, slimline, all that jazz. So it's not taking up a lot of space. I don't have a huge deal of pressed multi-chrome shades, so I feel like there's room in my life to just hold on to a little palette like this. I've got a lot of loose multi-chromes, which at some stage this year, I wanted to do it last year, but I just didn't get around to it. I want to press some and see if I can, you know, create a little mini palette for myself, which is totally not something that I would usually do, but I'm never going to use them while they're like loose pigments, so I may as well find a way to sort of make it work for me. Problem is I can't find a pressing medium in Australia. All the ones that I've found online are from overseas and they're so expensive. Like the shipping is so expensive. So anyway, that's a tangent that you didn't really need to hear. But let's move on to Nars. It's probably no surprise to many of you that like this was a little bit of a hard one, although I kind of kept it in my mind the whole time. If there's anything that I feel like I'm not gonna wear, I don't have to get rid of it. I'll stick it in my little like makeup memory box and all that jazz. But yeah, look, I had feelings about these. I did. I did enjoy using them all, but there are certainly palettes in here that I don't actually want to wear ever again. The ship has sailed for me. I'm not the same person that I was when I purchased these palettes. So let's go through it. I've got the Nars Man Ray palette here. I bought quite a bit from this collection because the packaging was just sensational. So this one here is quite like nudie, earthy tones, and then we've got like 3 jewel tones in there with the blue, purple, and green. I think the mattes are pretty limiting for me. Like I really don't like this shade. And I don't love this. It's kind of a bit bland. And then like it doesn't leave me much to work with, you know what I mean? The like satin shades are pretty bland. I don't mind the colors, that's fine. This one here is too dark for me, but the others, like the color itself is fine. I just don't like the finish. I think it's really boring. And then the jewel tones, I'm not into it. Like I'm never gonna wear that blue, I'm never gonna wear that green, and that purple is too dark for me. So I don't really see the point. Also, I feel like these are coming off matte, but they're not. They're meant to be satin finishes. You could use them in place of a matte. I don't think that would really be an issue, but for me, I'm not going to wear this. This is even too boring for me. I don't really care too much about, like, you know, what's in there in terms of eyeshadows. I care about, like, the artwork of it, you know what I mean? Like, it's a beautiful palette, and by that I mean the packaging. So I am going to keep it, but it's going in the memory box. I'm never going to wear it. Let's talk about Provocateur. So this palette, I can't remember when it was released. It was a long time ago, but this one I believe was actually the first Nars palette that I had purchased, like, after they had changed their eyeshadow formula. So I had used Nars palettes in the past, and I was like, these eyeshadows are shit and I'm not interested, especially with the price point. I was like, no ma'am, not going there. And then they released this collection, and I was like, I kind of, like, I love the packaging. I kind of really want this in my life. And I looked at the color story, and I was like, oh, I don't know if it's really my jam. But I bought it anyway. And you know what? I loved this palette. It was so good. So we've got a little, like, shimmery duochrome there. Or not really shimmery. It's more like, I call it a high-ish shine satin. We've got this gorgeous, like, terracotta red, and then we have that sort of, like, blue-brown style duochrome pigment that was all the rage at the time. Then we've got this absolutely stunning, like, silvery taupe shade, which I really, really love. This one here is, like, kind of like a dark or blackened, I'd call it like a blackened blue. It's kind of got some grey tones to it as well, which gives it that, like, dark gunmetal-y kind of vibe. And then there is this purple shade. Not a super duper cohesive, like, wearable palette just on, like, face value looking at the shades, but I will say this. All of these colors work so perfectly together. They make absolutely gorgeous looks. It really surprised me when I first used it. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect this to come together so well, but it really did. Like, she's pretty and I really like it. Also, the formula, this compared to this, my God, like night and day. These are almost like, they almost go on like paints. They're so rich and punchy and fantastic. Now, I am actually going to keep this one in my actual, like, makeup, my eyeshadow drawer. I don't think I would ever really use these darker shades here, but, like, these four are gorgeous and I really, really enjoy them. So I'm just going to hold on to it for now. I'm not going to retire it to the memory box of makeup past. I might use it. I don't know. I mean, I look at my eyeshadow palette drawer after coming this far in the series and I'm like, am I ever going to get around to using any of these ever again in my damn life? I'm sure I will, but it feels, it just feels very far away after doing this series for so long. Next up, I have a NARS palette that was actually gifted to me. This is the Saint Germain des Prés. Am I saying that right? I don't know. This one's beautiful. I love this. So I actually hadn't used this. I'd swatched it, but I hadn't used it before putting it into the project. This one is very much up my alley. Some of the darker shades in the palette are a little, you know, they're a little dark for me, but they can be used just to, like, deepen up the outer corner or, you know, pop a little bit of depth on the lower lash line or whatever. But I do really enjoy this one. The colors are so me. I think they swatch terribly, but I felt like it applied a lot better. And that's not an uncommon occurrence with all eyeshadow palettes. I just think this is so current Hailey, even though this palette is like just very, very old. I love this one, and it's probably the one that would get like the second most amount of use out of all of my Nars palettes. So let's talk about the one that would get the most use. It's this. This is the Bijou palette. I think this was the second last Nars palette that I've purchased. I'm pretty sure the last one I purchased was this. This is absolutely sensational. These like shimmery shades are just... some of them are like super sparkly, kind of shimmery, I don't know, almost like flaky formula like that. Oh my god, gorge. Same as that one there. And the colors of them are stunning. Like, that is so pretty. This one as well is one of those like sort of sparkly, flaky. This one has, I feel like it's got a little bit more glitter in it. Gorgeous, love them, divine. There's a few other like satins in the palette, which I don't mind. I don't think they're particularly exciting. It doesn't really float my boat. This one is quite nice. Good for highlighting and stuff. But I do feel that like these two, a little bit lackluster. This green is fine, but you guys know how I feel about green. And then there's also this like sort of dark bronzy brown shade. The mattes are fine, but to be perfectly honest, there's really only like 2 mattes in the palette that I care for and actually use in a look. But because there's so much going on here, like I don't really care about that, to be perfectly honest. So the 2 that I like to use are these ones here, but there is also these ones which are they're a little bit too dark for me. I mean, I've discussed it before, I'm not going to go over it again, but this is gorgeous. I do think for this to be like an absolutely perfect palette for me, a few more like, you know, lighter mid-toned mattes would have been good. Getting rid of, oh, did I swatch the red? I didn't even swatch the red. Who am I? How rude. Or did I? No, I don't think I did. Anyway, there's a red in there. Yeah, like getting rid of the greens and stuff, but look, is there ever anything that is a legitimately absolutely perfect palette? Not really, not for me anyway. This one I love. There's a lot packed in there in like a nice small compact little palette. I love the packaging. It's, yeah, I love it. If Nars brought out another palette that was similar to this, especially with these beautiful like flaky and shimmery and glitzy sparkly formulas, I'd probably be all over it, especially if there was, you know, 5 or more like there is with this palette. Yeah, this is my jam. This excites me. I love this. I'm obviously keeping it. Last palette is the Afterglow palette. I love the packaging on this. It's fantastic. Nars need to like go back to doing this fun stuff. These were the glory days, okay? It just feels so bland these days. That's a palette there. I think this color story, once upon a time I loved her. Now, I don't know. I still like it, and to be fair, it's very wearable, but there's just something about it that doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't make my brain twinkle. So, like I said, the shades are all very wearable. There is so much in here that suits me, basically. But again, I think the mattes are lacking in this palette. The shimmers are really nice. I think they're all, you know, very pretty. I think they work with the theme of like Afterglow, but yeah, I mean, these two here, right? So they're both mattes, And I feel like they can, you know, offer a soft pop of color to a look. But when you're sort of pairing them with other shades in the palette, every look starts to look the same. There doesn't appear to be any like real nuance to the looks. So for example, if I was doing a look and I was going to go with one of these lighter shades in like, you know, use that in the crease and sort of, you know, blend out the edges of the eyeshadow up here on my brow bone, then I might go in with one of these darker mattes for something in the outer corner, like offer some definition. And the rest are like shimmery, sparkly. So you've got something for like, you know, a soft glow over the lid. You've got a bit of sparkle, but it's like, you know, gold and this pink just kind of, I don't know. The pink I don't really understand. This one I do. This one I'm just like, oh, I don't even know. But yeah, it all just starts to like look very similar. So I don't really rate this palette. I just think it's very one note. I am keeping it, like I'm gonna keep it in my everyday makeup, like with my eyeshadows. But yeah, like this is bland. Like I said, it's just one note. Like it doesn't really bring much to the table except one look done 20 different ways. I do have to admit, I think Nars, like when they do eyeshadow palettes, it's kind of, and I suppose this is a problem for so many brands, it's either something like this where it's like the same look done over and over and over again when it's like themed around a specific color or color story, or it's like, you know, nudes with jewel tones. Like that's kind of, I feel like that's really all that they do. And once you've got one each of those palettes, like you don't need any more from Nars. It's just kind of like whatever. But like I said, I feel like that's a case with almost all brands. You know, once you've got one or two palettes, like you can call it quits and move on. You've got everything that they're ever going to offer. I mean, it's not all brands that do that, but a lot of them, it's, you know, it's very sort of samey. So with that, I am retiring one palette. Like I said, I will hold on to it just for the memes, but I'm gonna like take it out of my palette drawer. I'm gonna take it off my inventory, all that jazz. I am holding on to 5. We'll see how we go with these in the future. Potentially more will be retired. Quick update on my numbers. I've tested 69 palettes and I've decluttered 24 palettes. What I'm moving on to next are my Pat McGrath palettes. I've only got 2. I've decluttered so many over the years. Oh, I can hear something moving around in one of them. We'll have a look. So I've also decided to throw in my S palettes. So I've got Sigma and I've got Suva. This one here is the Mothership Sublime Bronze Temptation. I do love this packaging. Like the packaging is pretty cool. Oh, this is it's a bit ridiculous. That's it there. I'm not sure if that one will survive, but whatever, we'll see. This one here is the Mothership 2 Sublime. I don't know if that's actually correct. I feel like maybe what was moving around in here? I don't know. It's something that's like behind here, like in the actual box. Anyway, whatever. What palette is this? Mothership 5. Yeah, that's not the right packaging. I don't know what happened to that packaging. I must have got rid of it. Anyway, that's it there. This is the only one that survived because it's got that red shade. So will it survive testing? I don't know. Why are these so heavy? Anyway, that's whatever. Suva, let's do Suva. So I've got 2 from Suva. I have the Rose Period palette, which is, you know, it's just beautiful pink rosy, as you would expect. And I also have the Saffron palette. Oh man, this goes back to days where I was absolutely obsessed with reds. Look at those shimmery shades. I'm actually pretty excited to put those on and see what they're like now. And I've got two from Sigma. This one I'm actually wearing today. It is the Rendezvous palette. I love this. I loved it then. I love it now. I've been playing with it the last couple of days. Spoiler alert, I'll probably keep it. And then I have Warm Neutrals Volume 2, which is this one here. Honestly, I think I've swatched like 2 shades from this palette. I don't think I've actually used it, so there's that. That's what I'm going to be working on over, I don't know, however long it takes me. I always say I'm going to try and be fast, and then I'm not fast, and whatever. It is what it is. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm so fatigued with this series. Like, I'm so over it, but I am determined to finish it, and like, I'm getting there. I do still have, you know, a few palettes to get through, but it's like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is really good. So I'm gonna leave that there. Let me know your favorite ever Nars palette. Oh, Freya, you got an itch. Oh, she's so cute. What are you doing? She's like, don't judge me. That's it, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this one. Massive thank you to my channel members, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.